Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
The Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture weighs in on the recent carnival weekend.
Kofi Goodman avoiding the death penalty, beginning 55 years in prison. Tonight, we speak with young Marker Archer's family.
The closure of Munnings Road has become a vexing problem for commuters trying to get either from Gladstone Road to JFK or from JFK to Gladstone Road. But the Works Minister says this is all in the interest of the residents of this community.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, the skimpy outfits and provocative dancing during last Saturday's Carnival Road March has been condemned by outspoken senior pastor of Living Waters Kingdom Ministries, Apostle Raymond Wells. Wells delivered a scathing sermon on Sunday that hit out at revelers' unshaved, overweight bodies and demonic dancing. Well, in the wake of those comments, Youth, Sports and Culture Minister Michael Pintard says the government is looking at the possibility of establishing a code of conduct for Carnival. Jasmine Brown reports.
All your press out, all the stuff showing, you need shaved properly. Glory to God. These bad shape we see running around the nation. I thought we are a Christian nation. Disgraceful. Demeaning.
Wells did not hold back during his Sunday sermon when he asserted that some Bahamians did not bother to show up for church, but were present for Bahamas Carnival celebrations this past week. The video was posted on the church's Facebook page on Sunday morning.
Some can't even get up today because they are wiped out.
And the chastising did not end there, with Wells questioning why revelers would choose to expose themselves in such a public setting, as he insisted it attracts the wrong kind of attention.
You want a real man to want you? You want a real man with standard to want you? You want a real woman with standard to want you? And you parade in the streets, going to talk like you got demons? You gonna dance, put on some clothes, but I ain't got a problem. I step down on it every now and then too. But put on some clothes.
Wells is not the first religious figure to criticize Carnival. In 2015, the Bahamas Christian Council denounced the inaugural Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival, calling the costumes immodest and insisting the scant attire could lead to fornication, promiscuity, rape, incest, and other sins of the flesh. Asked if he was shocked about some of the outfits and dancing that was featured at this year's Carnival, Pintard said no. He insisted much of what is seen at Carnival is seen every day across the Bahamas, from tourists in the downtown district to partygoers at celebrations across the country. Pintard says if members of the religious community are serious about creating standards, it must be across the board and not just for Carnival.
We have to make a determination as a country on whether or not we are going to take action to enforce what we claim we wish to see as a standard of public behavior, as opposed to simply talking about it in the press. And so that's my challenge to colleagues and some of the critics, that if you are concerned about the direction we're heading in socially, I only invite you to attend the various parties that we're having in public spaces every week in this country and then take a stand there.
Pintard says despite what some may say, the government is not abandoning Carnival. In fact, he says they're currently exploring the possibility of implementing a code of conduct.
This is a debate that we must have as a community, and then we must make a firm determination as to whether or not the law is in fact being followed. And if it's not, then law enforcement has an obligation to intervene. But I believe the entrepreneurs are wise enough to vary what they do in the Bahamian version of this carnival to make sure they keep a certain standard that does not adversely affect their brand and their business. We don't have to wholesale import exactly what other people are doing in order for it to be successful.
Despite pushback from the religious community and other groups, Palantra Media, which managed Bahamas Carnival 2018, has already announced the dates for Carnival 2019, which owners say will be even bigger and better. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, convicted killer Kofi Goodman sentenced to 55 years in prison yesterday. Goodman, who was convicted of killing 11-year-old Marco Archer in 2011, will actually spend a maximum of 48 more of those years behind bars, as the Supreme Court took into account the 7 years he's already been in prison. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
Tonight, young Marco Archer's family reacting. They said it's not the punishment they would have wanted for Kofi Goodman, but at least it's some sort of justice.
I've read the paper and I've heard about it being considered not the worst of the worst. My thing of that is, what is actually the worst of the worst?
Tanzia Humes, the older sister of Marco Archer, says she's left confused by the law and what kind of murder is really considered the worst of the worst, considering that the gruesome murder of her 11-year-old brother in 2011 was not. 42-year-old Goodman was sentenced to 55 years after Supreme Court Justice Carolina Bethel determined she could not conclusively say Goodman is incapable of being reformed, thus escaping the death penalty. It's a decision young Archer's family, after 7 years of seeking justice, isn't too happy about.
We was hoping for the death penalty. We felt as if that's what he should have been given, the death penalty, yes.
It's hard, you know, because the person who took my brother's life, at the end of the day, he's supposed to get that penalty because he took something away from us. We lost a great deal. We lost someone who made us smile, who I wanted to see grow up to become a young man, and that never happened.
Precedent from the Privy Council in the UK dictates that a person should only be sentenced to death if the judge feels the killing is considered the worst of the worst and that the convicted killer can't be reformed. Archer's mother, with tears streaming down her face, says she still can't believe all that has transpired following one innocent decision to send her child around the corner to the store.
That was something like we do every weekend, and the shop was so close, you know, but I just didn't know. So sometimes I say to myself, if I did only know, I wouldn't even send him to the shop. But I miss him a lot, and I think about him a lot of times, because when I see children in his age bracket and even the school where he used to go to, I see boys who I know went to school with him. So I just imagine how Marco would have been looking now at the age of 17.
Police believe Archer was killed sometime between September 23rd and 28th in 2011, with the cause of death being blunt force trauma to the head. His body was found in bushes behind a Yorkshire Drive apartment. 7 years later, the family's wounds are still fresh. Marco's big sister says she finds it hard to now let her 16-year-old son go anywhere.
It cost me to not want him out of my sight for for long periods of time, and always having to know where he is. And his friends just be like, why your mommy is do this, why your mommy is do that. But it goes to show that there's still scars left behind.
He wanted to be something, he wanted to be different, and someone took him from us. So at the end of the day, you go on with your life, but then you still think about where would he be now. So that's what really I miss about him. I just wanted to see him be a man, and
Goodman plans to appeal his latest conviction. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
In other news, government seeking to deliver on its promise of good governance and accountability with the launch of the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit this morning. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, who was flanked by cabinet colleagues, Inter-American Development Bank officials, and representatives from the Canadian government, says the unit is vital.
One of the key objectives of this facility is to assist the Bahamas in increasing its capacity to monitor and implement its key priorities through performance management.
The unit will be responsible for tracking projects and initiatives set out and agreed by the Prime Minister, as well as establishing timelines for the completion of such projects. According to Dr. Minnis, the government has identified 6 key priorities.
These includes focus on the over-the-hill rejuvenation project, land reform, energy reform and infrastructure, ease of doing business, education, and safety and security.
Data collection and analysis are also key components, according to the Prime Minister. The unit is being funded by the IDB with assistance from the Canadian government. Canadian Minister of International Development Marie-Claude Bibeau says it is vital for all governments to be accountable to their people. She adds that the delivery unit has helped the Canadian government do just that.
We need to do a better job on reporting on and being accountable for the results we deliver and their impacts on people's lives. That means being transparent It means not only measuring and reporting on government activities, but also analyzing the government's impact on the things that matter to our citizens.
Sir Michael Barber of Delivery Associates is assisting government with this unit. Barber set up a similar unit for former British Prime Minister Tony Blair's administration. Members of the unit will come from the public and private sectors. The unit, which is the first of its kind in the Caribbean, will be headed by Vienna Gardner. Once fully operational, Gardner says a total of 11 people will be on staff.
Chief delivery officers have been identified in some of the ministries already that are connected to the key priorities, and where a chief delivery officer has not been identified in a ministry or department connected to the key priorities, it will be done during this foundational stage.
Well, as Bahamas Power and Light prepares to bring in an electrical engineer who specializes in system instabilities, Minister responsible for BPL, Desmond Bannister, acknowledged today that efforts to reduce the occurrence of power outages won't happen overnight. This as a lightning strike on Sunday caused an electrical disturbance in BPL's transmission and distribution system, plunging the entire island of New Providence into darkness for hours.
And it's not going to be overnight fix. It is going to take several years to fix all the problems that we sat around for years and allowed to occur. So now we are finally addressing them. We're going to have a new power plant in about 3 years. And until we do that, we're going to have these intermittent problems. BPL is investing in bringing in some safety experts who are going to try to create, I don't know how to say it in the language of the engineers, but essentially create some barriers so that when these types of things happen, we won't get the whole town shutting down.
Bannister has said he's not fully satisfied that BPL is prepared to meet the upcoming summer demand. He noted that BPL cannot guarantee an outage-free summer, as there will always be issues.
The reality is we've met a situation in place that we've all been complacent in relation to. We have to do something about it now. We are working on it. And it's going to require, as with everything else, it's going to require patience until we get where we want to be.
And the Minister of Works is defending his office's decision to make Munnings Road a cul-de-sac, citing safety as the main reason for the change. The opposition has criticized the decision, saying it will make traffic in the area a nightmare. Our Jillian Gray reports.
The closure of Munnings Road has become a vexing problem for commuters trying to get either from Gladstone Road to JFK or from JFK to Gladstone Road. But the Works Minister says this is all in the interest of the residents of this community.
Back in December, 3 community associations submitted a request to have the road closed, citing several grievances including speeding and fear of burglary.
Huge numbers of traffic accidents, overturned vehicles causing problems. Some of those traffic accidents on people's lawns. It was a very, very serious thing. They were concerned about their safety. Secondly, they were concerned about the dumping in that community. Indiscriminate dumping by people just driving through and dumping wherever. Thirdly, they were concerned about the inordinate number of burglaries.
While residents are thankful that the area would be safer for children, some feel the commute is presenting quite a challenge.
They didn't put up a sign to say this goes permanently, so that caught us, by surprise. With the road being closed, I see a change in the traffic. There's not as much noise as usual. I think it's better for the kids and for the environment. The area is much quiet. It's a quiet area on the whole, but I preferred. I don't know if I prefer it closed or not, because now I'm feeling the longer way. I have to take the longer way to get around. So it's like a 50-50 for me.
It's crazy. You could imagine you working a quarter way through the road and you got to go all the way on the highway, come around, turn through the wall to come back up just to get there. That's crazy. And they say the road is not going to be open no more because of speeding. And they put them little yellow things in the road to stop you from speeding. That is crazy. What happened to the rest of Nassau where they have speed bumps? What make this area different? Somebody die and leave someone king through this area? Really? They gotta be crazy. The minister gotta do something about it. You can't be serious.
Also against the move is leader of the opposition and former Minister of Public Works, Philip Davis, who said the road closure is a bad decision and will result in a traffic nightmare in the Gladstone Road area.
We're putting money in the budget so that we can be able to create 2 lanes in each direction on Gladstone Road. We have a lot of stupid sidewalks that were put up by the former administration that's going to have to be taken down.
Munnings Road is home to 10 different residential communities and also consists of commercial properties on the eastern end of the road. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Still to come on Our News, the Foreign Affairs Minister officially opens COFCOR. The details after this break.